Hello, my name is Douglas Bloch. I'm an author, counselor, and depression survivor. Welcome to your Depression Recovery channel, where each week we talk about practical tools and coping strategies for healing for depression and anxiety. Before we start the video, I want to announce that this is the 200th video that I have made since I started this channel in 2012. I couldn't have done it without Jerry and Joshin, my two videographers over there. Thanks so much, guys. You're just amazing. So let's start with my normal joke. A lot of viewers are used to this. When I go on my live chats and I don't tell a joke, people get upset, so here it comes. Those of you who have read my book, Healing from Depression, know that I really place a lot of emphasis on physical self-care because that is the foundation of mental health recovery. So one of the aspects of physical self-care is eating well. You know, I've been trying to maintain a good, healthy diet, but every time I look at a candy bar, it looks at me and snickers. For those of you who are overseas, this is a Snickers bar. Oh my God, 8 grams of fat, 520 calories. Oh! Okay, here, catch. All right, ready to start our video now. Sorry I got carried away there, but on a more serious note, the title of today's video is You Are More Resilient Than You Think. And I'd like to start off with a definition of resilience. Resilience is that quality that allows some people to be knocked down by life and come back stronger than ever. Rather than letting misfortune overcome them and drain their resolve, they find a way to rise from the ashes. Here are some of the factors that psychologists have identified as helpful in making people more resilient. Positive attitude, optimism, the ability to regulate emotions, and the ability to see failure as a form of helpful feedback. Now I would like to share 2 personal stories where I have seen resilience demonstrated in miraculous ways. The first one involves my niece's 7-year-old son, Evan. One day back in July, Evan woke up and he had a splitting headache, nausea, and vomiting. This went on for 2 or 3 days, so his mother finally took him to the emergency room. They did an MRI and they found a tumor 3.5 inches long in his brain on top of his brainstem. The doctor said, unless you get this operated on, this boy is not going to make it. They called an ambulance. The ambulance took them from Monterey, California to Stanford University, where the next day he endured a 10.5-hour brain surgery on the 7-year-old kid. It was not clear if he would survive the surgery, and if he did, how disabled he would be afterwards. Well, Evan did survive. But afterwards, he remained in intensive care for 2 weeks with a feeding tube and a ventilator because he could not swallow or breathe on his own. And even when he went to rehab, he still couldn't walk, he couldn't talk, and he couldn't swallow. And yet 2 months later, he's at home getting speech and occupational physical therapy. He's regaining his lost functions. And get this, his mother called me the other day and said with his new tricycle, he was actually able to ride for 1 hour straight without stopping. Wow, that's a long way from not even being able to sit up in bed. The second story is about a 29-year-old former student of mine who got carried away on a riptide in the Oregon coast and almost drowned. When I got to the ICU, he was on a ventilator and was in a coma and not responsive to anybody. The nurse had told me that while underwater, he had been deprived of oxygen for a long time, and as a result, he had experienced massive brain damage. This is what the MRI revealed. So even if he did recover, he would have no quality of life. The doctor said to his mother, hey, if it was my son, I'd pull the tube or pull the plug. So they decided to wait 3 days, and if Sam was unresponsive, they would unplug the ventilator and put him on hospice. Then, on the 3rd day, just as they were about to disconnect the ventilator, Sam showed unexpected signs of life. When asked to squeeze somebody's hand, he did so. Soon he was answering simple questions with a yes or no. The next week, he could actually sit up on his own, speak in complete sentences, breathe on his own, and feed himself. And when I saw him 2 days ago, he was actually walking down the hall. When I asked the nurse to explain this miraculous recovery and why the MRI had been wrong, she said, I don't know, we have no explanation. We just know he dodged a bullet. And finally, there is my story about my life-threatening illness that I had and that I wrote about in my book, Healing from Depression. The episode lasted 9 months, and during that time I was more or less incapacitated. remember one time when a friend of mine was driving me around town while doing his errands because I was so messed up I couldn't be left alone with my suicidal thoughts. At one point, he went into the market to buy some food. He left me on the curb to wait for him. And I remember thinking, will I ever become the person I used to be? Will I ever become functional again? I used to be an avid reader, and now I couldn't even read a page. I had written a number of books, and now my inspiration had dried up like a riverbed after a drought. Recovery seemed to be as far away from me as the Andromeda Galaxy. And then one day, after a community of people started praying for me, the downward slide came to a halt. Over the next 5 months, I regained the ability to think, to concentrate, and most importantly, to experience joy and peace. Like the book of Job, all that had been taken from me was restored. The stories I have shared with you are repeated each day thousands of times around the globe. And what is the moral of these stories? It's that we as human beings are a resilient species. We have survived wars and disease and floods and famines and earthquakes and other natural disasters. And yet here we are, thriving. And we will continue to thrive. So if you feel you have no hope for the future, or you know someone else who's mired in despair, say these words to yourself or to the other person. Never give up. Never give up. You are more resilient than you think. My favorite metaphor for resilience is the mythological bird known as the phoenix. The phoenix had a 500-year lifespan, at the end of which the bird built its own funeral pyre on which it was burned to ashes. Yet out of the ashes a new phoenix arose. This is why I have placed the image of the phoenix inside my book, inside the front cover of the book, Healing from Depression, as you can see here. This kind of resurrection occurs every time I see people recover from terrible episodes of depression, anxiety, manic depression, and even, in some cases, psychosis. It's as if they were like the phoenix and they rose from the dead. In fact, they have risen from the dead. And so can you, because you are more resilient than you think. This has been Douglas Bloch. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did so, please give it a like. If you have any questions, you can leave them in the comment section, or you can email me, douglasbloch@gmail.com. And if you would like to subscribe to this channel, which hopefully you will do, during the closing credits, if you click on the image of my photograph, you'll be taken to the subscribe page. And if you click on the little bell just to the right of the subscribe button, you will receive advanced notifications of every video I publish, including my live question and answer chats. If you click on the book during the closing credits, you will be taken to my website, healingfromdepression.com. And if you click on the videos, you'll be taken to those. And until we meet again, I wish you the best in your mental health recovery. Thank you so much.